Hello everyone, I'm Sally. I'm a professional dancer and Pilates instructor. I teach online and in the studio, and probably if you're here today you're thinking about taking up Pilates, whether online or in person. So I thought I'd make this quick video just to run through some of the main starting positions we use in Pilates, the main things we think about in every class, so that you can come along feeling really comfortable and ready to go when you join us. So first things first, what to wear. Anything that's comfy that you can move in. If you want to have feedback from your instructor, it can be useful to wear something that's not too baggy on top, because we like to see the position of your spine, so it's a little bit easier if we can see that through your clothing, but of course it's entirely up to you. You'll need a mat, a yoga mat or a Pilates mat. Pilates mats tend to be a little bit thicker and therefore more comfortable, but a yoga mat is absolutely fine as well. I use some small equipment in my classes, so if you're going to join me, whether online or in the studio, at some point you might like to think about getting hold of a Pilates ball, which is one of these soft balls, and some mini bands. They usually come in sets of 3 of different strengths. Here's one of mine, my favourite one. I'll put a link to both of these items in the section below, but you can buy them from loads of different places. There's lots of options out there. So let's get started. Our first starting position to run through is semi-supine. If you just lie yourself down on your mat, knees bent, feet planted. A full supine would mean that you had your legs out straight as well, but this semi position with the legs bent is the one we use most often in Pilates. It's probably the one which you'll come back to every single class. It's pretty self-explanatory. The things to think about: making sure your feet are parallel, don't have them turned in or out. Make sure that your knees are also in line with your feet. There should be a little gap between your knees. You want to think about having a straight spine. We often have a habit of carrying things on one side, tilting your head to one side. So this is a chance to really make sure that you've got that spine in a straight line. Relax your shoulders and widen your collarbones. Relax through the neck and the head. And also the position of your pelvis and spine. So if you give your pelvis a little rock forwards and backwards here, as if you had a marble balanced on your abdomen, you're going to roll it towards your belly button and then away from your belly button. So you're increasing and decreasing the arch in your back. So in Pilates, we sometimes choose to move the pelvis, mobilise the spine, but we always want to come back to a neutral spine position, which is somewhere in the middle, where your marble is balanced exactly in the centre of your abdomen, neither tucked nor tilted. So that's when we come into our neutral spine position. So one of the things that we always think about in Pilates classes is breathing. If you pop both your hands onto your abdomen here, and we're going to start by taking some deep breaths. Breathing so deeply that it makes your hands rise and fall. So the reason we breathe in Pilates is a few things really. It helps us to get that sense of well-being and calm, which a lot of people want to get out of a Pilates class. It gives you something to focus on during the class, and having lots of things to focus on helps you to switch your mind off the other things which might be floating into it and getting in the way. You want to forget about those things during your hour of Pilates. It also brings much needed oxygen into the body. So flooding the muscles with oxygen and energy, helping us to get through the workout that we're about to do. And it also helps us to feel a sense of connection and flow. If we breathe at the same time as we move, you can kind of feel that movement through your whole body, and it feels more natural somehow when you're doing an unusual movement if you can connect the breath at the same time. So hopefully you're starting to feel a little benefit from this deep breathing we've been doing while I've been chatting on. Right, but if we breathe like we have been now into the belly, it makes it quite difficult to use your abdominal muscles. We do a lot of work where we're using the abdominals in Pilates. So instead, we still breathe just as deeply as we were, but we work on a slightly different breathing technique. So if you bring your hands around now so that they're on the sides of your rib cage instead, just here. And when you breathe in, you're going to feel those ribs expand out to the side. So feel your hands widen apart like an accordion, filling with air. And as you breathe out, then they're going to close back in together again. So just have a few more goes at that. Breathing in, seeing if you can expand your ribs out to the side into your hands, and closing to sync them both together. So another thing we think about in Pilates all the time is flow. I just mentioned it a moment ago, and it's this sensation of linking movement and breath together. So we're going to keep those nice deep breaths going, and as we breathe in, we're going to extend one leg long down the mat and one arm up and overhead. As we breathe out, we're going to bring them back to the centre, and again breathing in and breathing out. So the flow we're getting here is that we want all things to happen at the same time. The breath is the impetus, which makes the arm and the leg move simultaneously, and the out breath draws them back in together. Feel as if you've got a helium balloon on your hand, and as you breathe in, it sends that balloon up into the sky, and as you breathe out, it sinks and lowers back down again. So there we go, Semisupine. We talked about breathing and flow. Let's come up now to our next starting position. So if you just bring yourself up to sitting. So there's a few variations on how you might sit in a Pilates class. Sitting on the floor is quite challenging for unless you've got quite a loose back and hamstrings. So we normally have a few different options. You can be cross-legged if that's comfortable. You can often kneel if you can sit down like this. Again, this can be a bit of a challenge for knees and things. Quite a comfortable position for a lot of people is a frog or a long frog. So we bring the soles of the feet together, but quite far away, and we sit up here, or we can extend the legs straight out in front as well. So if sitting on the floor and sitting up straight and tall is a bit of a challenge for you, then you can use a yoga block or a big chunky hardback book instead. You just sit on it, pop it in underneath your bum cheeks, sit on it there, and it makes sitting up straight loads easier. So if you find that sitting up straight makes your hip flexors or your thighs get really tight, or it's just really uncomfortable, then get yourself a yoga block or a Yellow Pages or something like that. Sit on there and give that a go. See how that feels instead. So choose whatever sitting position seems right for you. Legs out, maybe a frog, maybe kneeling. I'm going to go for cross-legged. We're just going to have a moment to talk about awareness. So close your eyes or lower your gaze down towards the floor. And just feel whichever parts of you which are in contact with the floor, really nice and heavy, sinking down into the ground. And at the same time, lifting up and out through the crown of the head. So what I mean when I talk about awareness is a combination of a few different ideas: focus, concentration, precision. I kind of bring them all down into one word of awareness. So we want to, Pilates often involves some quite simple or quite small movements, and the things which really make a difference for you are if you just do them really, really well, if you're very precise, if you're very conscious of exactly where each part of your body is, the way you're moving it, and how everything links together. And it's when you start to get all of those things that you really feel the benefits of Pilates. So we're just going to bring our awareness to our pelvis and spine for a moment here. So in your mind's eye, just visualise the position of your pelvis at the moment. Is it in that nice neutral position we found on the floor, or has it perhaps rocked itself forwards or back? And see if you can encourage it to come up and find that neutral position. Now visualise your spine reaching up and away. It should be in its nice natural S-shaped curve. I want you to think about space between each vertebra. Think about lengthening that spine, reaching the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Let's take a breath in, bring the shoulders up towards the ears, and then breathe out and let the shoulders sink, relax, and release back down. So we found ourselves in a lovely sitting position here. Now, without moving, without changing anything, I want you to give a mental body scan from top to toe and see if there are any muscles which you're holding on to at the moment which you could let go of. Maybe around your jaw, your neck, your hip flexors, something which is working really hard that maybe doesn't need to be. So on your next out breath, see if you can locate a muscle that's working harder than it needs to and convince it to switch off and let go. So there we go. We have a lot more time during a full class to really focus in on different body parts and build that awareness. So there's a little taster of the kind of thing that we will think about from time to time. So let's come around now into our next starting position. This one is called 4-point kneeling. The 4 points being 2 hands, 2 knees. So you have your shoulders directly over your wrists and you have your hips directly over your knees. This is a great one to talk about alignment again. So we do a lot of work about the alignment of the pelvis and the spine. So let's just move that pelvis again like we did when we were lying on our backs in semi-supine. So if we were rolling that marble forwards and back. And then let's come back through and find that neutral pelvis position again. Find a straight line through the spine and let's have a think about the position of your head. So this position here, we often find that we're either looking forwards or that we might have let the hair drop and hang down. So as part of our spine alignment, we need to get the neck in line as well. You'll probably find that you're looking between your hands on the floor and just think about that neck being part of the same straight line as the rest of your spine. So you're bringing pelvis, spine, neck and head all into alignment together. So from this 4-point kneeling position, we do lots of different work. We might do some planks, we might lift one arm and the other, but essentially we're always coming back into this lovely alignment right through the torso. So our next starting position is the side lying position. So if you come down to lie, as it sounds, on your side, we normally have one arm stretched out underneath your head. If this isn't very comfortable for you, then you can pop a cushion in here instead and rest your head down onto the cushion. So we have one shoulder stacked directly on top of the other, one hip bone directly on top of the other. We want to imagine that we're lining the back of your body up with a wall behind you. So the back of your heels, the back of your pelvis, the back of your shoulders and the back of your head are all lined up along a straight line. When you're first starting out, you can line yourself up along the back of your yoga mat and that can be a good way for you to start to learn where your straight line position is. So here we are in side line. We do all sorts of different exercises from here, but I thought I'd just demonstrate something to teach you a little bit about centering, which is another one of the things we always talk about in Pilates. So before we do that, let's just extend one leg out and then just stay nice and relaxed. Sweep that leg forwards and see what happens in the rest of your body. So if you were relaxed, you probably found that as your legs swung forwards, your pelvis rocked forwards and you fell sort of forwards down onto the mat a little bit more. So we're now going to think about centering ourselves before we do anything. I want you to feel as if you're going to zip yourself up into a tight pair of jeans. So you pull on those jeans, you do up that zip, so you feel as if you're lifting the pelvic floor, you draw your belly button in towards your spine, and you draw everything in nice and close, bringing the front of your body closer to the back of your body. And that is this idea of zipping up, which we use. So let's zip up. Lifting the pelvic floor, drawing the belly button to the spine, front of the body close to the back of the body. We're going to extend that top leg, and this time when we swing it forwards, we're going to keep those abdominals engaged, keep that zip up going, and see if we can stop the pelvis from rocking forwards. Back we come. And again, leg comes forwards, use those abdominals, and back we come. So there's a little example of what we mean when we talk about centering. We use our core muscles, our deeper muscles in the torso, our abdominals, to help us to keep the spine and the pelvis in alignment, no matter what the arms and legs are doing. That center is strong and stable in the middle. So let's come around to our final starting position now. This one is called prone. Pretty simple to explain. You're just lying flat out on your front. For this one, I'm going to put hands level with my ears and forehead down towards the floor. So what we're going to talk about now is the idea of release. So if you think about, first of all, zooming your head and neck away from the mat, as if you're a camera in your eyes, you're going to zoom away, so you lift the whole head and neck away. We haven't lifted the chin, but instead we've lifted it up in one piece. Now think about drawing your shoulder blades down your back, pressing down a little into your hands and just drawing your upper body up. It's into a little baby cobra. And back down we go. And again, we're going to zoom the head and neck away, Draw the shoulders down the back and up we come. This time we're going to stay up here. So either hold it where you are, or if this feels quite easy for you, we're going to extend one arm in front and down and extend and down. Good. Let's just take one more to each side, or just hold it for a couple more minutes if you're holding. And lower we go. Excellent. So now that you've come back down towards the mat, I want you to have a little scan of your body and think about which bits of you have just been working. You might find a little bit of fatigue in some of your muscles. So have a think from toes up to your head, and as you breathe out, see if you can release and switch off some of the muscles that were maybe working harder than they needed to be. So for this exercise, we really only needed to work the muscles at the top of the back. That was the only bit which we were using to come up from the floor, but you might find that your lower back muscles, your glutes, your legs, all have got involved here. So let's take one more breath in, breath out, and see if we can release them and let go. So now while they're feeling nice and heavy, sunk down into the floor, let's just give it one more go. We're going to zoom that head and neck away, push down into the hands, and see if you can just use that upper body. Keep the legs heavy and relaxed. Keep the glutes nice and soft. Keep that lower back out of it as much as we can. We're just using that upper back. Even harder to maintain if we take one arm and the other, and lower back down. So what I'm talking about with this one is the idea that we sometimes have muscles which we will habitually go back to all the time to use for absolutely anything we do. It might be something in your lower back, it might be your glutes or your hip flexors, muscles which end up becoming really overused and can then start to cause you some aggravation. So one of the things we try and do in Pilates is notice those muscles which are always working super hard, those ones which are always getting tired, always doing too much, and we try to learn how to switch them off and instead choose which parts of our body we want to work instead, to maybe say, okay, fine, but for this exercise, I don't want to use that bit, I want to use this bit. So that all starts off learning how to release the ones which are super keen and want to do all the work for you. There's one other starting position which we use a lot, which I'm not going to show you because it's just standing up. So that one won't come as too much of a surprise when you come round to it. Of course, you have loads more time in a Pilates class to really get into all these different ideas that I've been talking about, but I hope that's helpful to give you an idea of what Pilates is all about, the kind of the way it looks, what to expect that you're going to do during the class, and helps you to feel sort of confident and excited about what Pilates can do for you when you start to practice. So whether you're going to join me online or in the studio, then I really look forward to meeting you soon. I hope that you really enjoy Pilates. I hope this was a helpful video, and yeah, see you soon. Bye!